audience here. Let's capture the room, Scott. So, folks, we're going to have, this is the 2 o'clock session. I've got my Scott Williamson to my left. Brilliant man, I've known a few years. And I'm going to have him talk about himself, but I want to capture everybody's attention because we're all talking about machine learning, automation, blah, 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 in cybersecurity, think Terminator, oh my gosh. But it is about trusting the machine. This is something we want to talk about passionately today. So Scott, tell us about yourself, tell us about your organization, set the table so people know who you are.
Sure. Scott Williamson, I'm with Cerberus, Cyber Sentinel. We have been doing managed SOC, NOC services for going on 10 years now. Grew up in the energy vertical, naturally expanded into health tech, fintech, normal corporate America. We offer MDR services, XDR services, vulnerability management, and incident response services.
Of course, you use one of my favorite acronyms there, XDR, Scott, so I love that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that I think people are starting to recognize when you go to XDR, it's a different framework with SIM, rules. People would data mine, legacy information, package it so they could see that alert again and go, aha, I know what that means. With XDR, there's a promise that machine learning will help make those correlations so your team can actually look at that picture and say, what does it mean versus trying to paint the picture themselves, right? So Scott, that's huge. First, tell me how that transition went on your team. How hard was that? And be honest, if it was hard, we want people to know, but tell us why that hardness turned into something like, wow, once I did it, it was worth it, or not.
Well, so we had been doing managed SIEM services for about 7 years. Your traditional SIEMs, Alien Vault, Logarithm, QRadar, right? So we're very familiar with use cases or directives or things that you would have to create within a SIEM. And, SIEM was great in 2005 when it first came out, and there was this great promise of correlations and being able to do some really cool things with logs. I look at companies today and who's using EDRs, who's using EPPs, who's moved away from signature-based AVs. We have the same issues with traditional SIEMs in that when you're creating directives, you have to know what you're looking for. And knowing what you're looking for means that you've read it somewhere, you have a specific use case, whatever it is. But that doesn't really protect you against the zero-day threats. And, in today's threatscape, in today's threat world, we face a lot of live off the land type attacks, right? People are utilizing known good tools, known good techniques within an environment to impact the environment. Exfiltrate data, impact the environment. And so, with machine learning, and I'll be honest with you, Steve, I was skeptical when people come to me and say, oh, machine learning, oh, AI, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, right? We hear it all the time. But I saw it work. And I like to call these my aha moments, right, is when we started seeing it. And, really, the thing behind the machine learning is baseline, understanding what's normal in an environment so that we can look at what's happening that's not normal. And in today's threatscape, that's what's key. It's the anomalous activity within the environment. We've all made investment in tools and things to help us with the malicious stuff. That's easy. That's easy for SentinelOne or CrowdStrike or whatever it is. But it's the anomalous stuff, the stuff that's not right.
Yeah, I think you said it right. It's that day zero, the new thing. And hackers are going to always come up with something new, know how smart we are. So we have to learn how to be proactive, not reactive, right? But give me a sense of time. You're a trustworthy guy. I could tell that. So I know you're not going to give people a fluffy answer. How long did it take you? Was it incidents, days, months, your team? How long would you package that aha moment from day one to the day that you said, I now trust the machine?
Well, the thing about trust is it's got to be earned, right? It's got to be proven to you. And so I was very skeptical when we first, put ML and AI into the play. But like I said, I had these aha moments, right? As we were testing the ML, the machine, I came in one day, and it wasn't tied into our other SOC services, our alerting dashboards, anything like that. I was just checking it against my other technology that was already deployed. How's it doing today? Is it seeing the same thing that my logarithm's seeing or my Alien Vault's seeing? I came in one day, and there's this big red alert on the dashboard, and it said, hey, this server last night between the hours of 10 and 11 usually generates X amount of traffic. But last night, during that time, it generated 10 times that amount of traffic. You need to look and see if there isn't any exfiltration happening on that server. So, of course, I about had a heart attack, right? Because my other tools hadn't told me anything about it. And I was like, oh, crap. I looked at it and I was like, oh, well, that's my backup server. I added a couple machines to the backup. It's basing those out to my cloud provider. But that was my first aha moment, Steve, because I was like, how could I have written a rule in a standard scene to have alerted me on that? Couldn't, right? Because of the variability of what it was looking at. Now, I could have written a directive or use case rule that said, hey, if this server ever generates above X amount of traffic, tell me about it, let me look at it. But this was based on behavior. This was the machine learning sitting there going, hey, we're keeping metrics on this guy, and what happened last night was something we had never seen from this guy. You need to look at this. So that was some of the, okay, maybe I'll trust this a little bit more. And, I've got other stories of, analysts logging into their workstations on days that they typically didn't work, and it alerting me saying, hey, Janilla logged in on a Saturday. We've only ever seen her log in Monday through Thursday.
Yeah.
Why is she logging in? And I was like, how would I write a directive in a traditional SIEM to have told me that? I couldn't do that. So it was overtime. For me, it was a month or two. For my grizzly seasoned analysts that had been writing directives for years, it took a little bit longer. But then as we started identifying these things, I would look at Logan, my manager of my SOC, I was like, how would you write a detection like that in logarithm? And he'd be like, I couldn't do that. There you go. That's the benefit.
I'm glad you gave a shout out to Logan, because I know Logan, and I know he's one of the people who took a lot of trust in machines. So shout out to Logan here today.
He did, absolutely.
So that's great. I think those are really powerful examples. So how do you take this into the future? Because we want to be more and more proactive and understand the first steps that a hacker takes to get in and say, like anomaly detection, hey, that access to that server, clearly bad. Do you see the future getting more and more towards moment zero from the hacker entering the shop? Because we all know the sooner you nip that in the bud, the better it is for everybody, right? Because once the damage is done, you have days, weeks, months of recovery. So we all want, in the first 5 minutes would be ideal. Where do you think the technology can go, Scott? Can we get to that fast? Do we just catch things before they even get past that first device?
I think we can, right? As we're baseline, as we're understanding, right? There's very specific steps attackers, adversaries use when they're compromising networks, right? They're gaining access somehow, whether that's phishing, whether it's VPN, whether it's blown credentials, whatever that is, right? We're getting access, we're dropping persistence. We want persistence within the network. And that's where these attackers are really changing, because used to they would drop things like imitat, or imitat would be their persistence mechanism. Now they're moving. Now they're grabbing things like a Terra, right? I can sign up for a Terra RMM online without a credit card, get a license, and get a 30-day trial. So I'm using known good software that CrowdStrike's not going to tell you about, right? It's a known good. It's not malicious in nature, or they're dropping TeamViewer, or they're dropping. So I think there's still going to be reliance on the EDRs and the ETPs, but it's the hey, wait a minute, I'm seeing a new application launch from this machine that I've never seen before. I just saw TeamViewer open up. I've never seen this before. This is out of the ordinary. Oh, I'm seeing a service account that I've never seen log in, an administrative service account that's been captured by Mimikatz or whatever, and it's going in there. So again, I think it's around the anomalous, and I think having XDR, having that machine learning, being able to identify that quick allows us to get in front of it before the damage is done. Because once they get the persistence, then they start looking, right? Then they start trying to understand. We worked in IR, it's been about a month and a half ago, where, and this is a true story, it's been longer than that, I guess now. January 6th, they got hit with ransomware. Everything was gone. All their servers were gone. Their backups were gone. Everything was out. Only the machines that were there, the desktops, lived. And, of course, they didn't have XDR. They didn't have EDR. They didn't have anything, right? So in our investigation, we had actually found out that the bad guys had been on the network since mid-October.
Oh my gosh.
And they were looking around, they were scoping out, they said, oh, they had this centralized storage where they're doing their snapshot backups. There's a vulnerability associated with that. We can get through the back door that way. They were using administrative accounts that would have been picked up by an XDR saying, wait a minute, why is this administrative account logging in at 3:30 in the morning on a weekend?
Yeah.
So I think as you can get that anomalous piece and identify that anomalous activity, it's just going to move it down that much quicker.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole point, right, is early detection and early response.
It's all about the anomalous activity nowadays. It really is.
Yeah, wonderfully said, Scott. I'll tell you, I think people need to realize that we all are moving from when to it is happening. And I think what enterprises need to recognize is that that's the dirty little secret. If you hear about it in the media, that the hacker actually started that process 6 months ago. That's why I asked the question. Yeah, that's how long it takes. And that's why I asked the question about how fast can we actually get in the future, right? I'm going to throw you a softball. Maybe it's a hard ball here, Scott. I didn't even prep you for this.
Okay.
But I know you love basketball. And I know that you, like my son and I, love old cars. Is there an analogy that can be fun for the audience here today you can make between old cars and basketball and cybersecurity? Have you thought about that?
No, I can honestly say, Steve, that thought has never crossed my mind.
Well, that's a shame. I was hoping you have a fun analogy, Scott. But maybe the message is have fun things separate from work to help you stay sane.
Well, maybe, absolutely.
I love it. Well, look, folks. I want to make sure you actually, Cerberus came here prepared to bring not just knowledge, not just part of the community, but their game out here. They built a game to help people have fun and understand XDR, and I think that's just outrageously cool. So please play the Cerberus Sentinel game out front here. Scott and Anna, thank you guys for all your support. We know you're such believers in the community, and we are too. So thank you, Scott, for being here and coming out. Thank you.